and welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and this week we've got Bobby in the co-host chair. Welcome back, Bobby.
Hello. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. We'll have some topics to discuss this week. Good. Looking forward to it.
A lot of comics. There's even some Pokemon news in there, which Mr. Pokemon himself added on there. So thank you, Bobby, for contributing to the notes. But if this is your very first episode, the way we format it is most of the show is the bulk of news from this week. And then we end it with the Brocat Block, which is what Bobby and I have been doing in the week, the more personal side where you get to know Bobby and I a little bit better. So let's jump right in and explore sector number 495. The latest Jurassic World Dominion trailer dropped. This is one that Leo and I watched together. He was very excited to go see it. It is set to release on June 10th. We did get some feedback from someone on Twitter, but first I want to hear your thoughts because I know you were not feeling this trailer.
Not excited. I was looking forward to seeing a trailer and hopefully it'd be decent. This franchise, as far as Jurassic World, I haven't been too keen on. The first one was okay. Second one was eh. And then this one, again, I'm judging from a trailer. It just looks, they're going back to the well. That's how I phrased it. They're bringing back the original cast, it looks like. We've got dinos back in the city, and that just reeks of Jurassic Park 3 all over again. So that's my fear.
You're thinking of
I haven't
2?
seen the movie. Or 2, yeah, sorry. No, it's 3. 3 had the dinos in the city, didn't it?
No, so at the end of 2, the T-Rex goes into the city to try to find its baby. 3, they're just on the island again, and that's where the Spinosaurus is.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's the one when they were in the city was terrible.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like. It looks like Mission Impossible, starring, I'm forgetting his name.
Goldblum?
Not Tom Cruise, but our Jurassic World equivalent. I don't know why I can't remember his name.
Chris Pratt?
Chris Pratt. There we go. Jeez. Mission Impossible Jurassic World, starring Chris Pratt. On a motorcycle going through the city chased by a dino. So it's just weird. I don't know. It's just a trailer and being judgmental over a trailer. It's probably going to be fine. The bigger thing is, like you said, the kiddos are going to be all over this movie. So that is really cool. I'm glad that a new generation gets to experience this because they're not going to judge the movie that way. They just want to see their dinos. And that's all that matters. So that's fine. But you're not going to appreciate it because your wallet's going to hurt. More dinos to purchase.
Oh, yeah. They're going to do a whole new line of them. And I got to be honest, I'm going to get the feathered dinosaur. In case you haven't seen the trailer, I'd been talking about for months about, how in Jurassic World 1, they explained away the feathered dinos. And it was a really neat way to do it where they're like, well, back then in the 90s, we didn't know that dinosaurs had feather and some of them had like quills. So in Jurassic World, they're like, Dr. Wong says, you wanted something scarier. You wanted them bigger. You wanted them meaner, more teeth. You didn't want real dinosaurs. So that was a neat way for them to go, okay, this is why they don't look like real dinosaurs. But then they show up in the trailer, and I freaked out because I didn't think I'd see it in any of the Jurassic Park movies. So I want to know how they're going to explain that away, or if it's just going to be a regular dinosaur that pops up, or if it's a velociraptor that ends up, because they're out in the wild now, it truly is Jurassic World. If they're now regressing back to their more natural forms, to more of what they really were like, I'm not too sure if they're even going to explain it, but I was just happy to see that in the trailer. I made a GIF of it. I put it up on Tenor, so if you search Jurassic World Dominion, it'll be up there. I'm excited, man, and we did get on Twitter at Mike Iggy 1031. I did ask what was your favorite part of the Jurassic World Dominion trailer, and he said, quote, feathered raptors, end quote. So I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah. I'm not dissing it. It just, my initial thoughts are not good, but I love Jurassic Park. I love the books and I love the original, the original movie. It's one of the best for its time. And it's great. As far as the dino feathers, I saw an article with the director, and he was talking about how he is trying to bring back what was discussed in the first Jurassic Park film, as well as what you were talking about, the reference to the doctor when he was talking about bringing back recreating the dinos. But the director or story. It was by Colin Trevorrow, and he went on to explain in an article. I think it was through Variety, because they were the one that leaked, or not leaked, but showed off some photos for it along with the trailer. And he was interviewed, and he was saying about how he wanted to dig in on the science of the dinos, about how it was always thought that if they would have survived and went past however they were ended in our history, that they would have actually developed feathers over time. And that goes along with what you were saying about how is it getting feathers because it's been in the wild for so long naturally, or is it because what they're creating is trying to reflect what our science predicted what would have happened with them? That's pretty cool that he's tying the strings together and putting that in there. Will people like it? There's probably going to some people are going to poop all over it. It's like, why do these dinosaurs have feathers, right? But he tied it together pretty well by talking about how birds evolve and how dinos evolve over time if they would have existed that long.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed in kids' cartoons, because Leo's really into dinosaurs, and kids' books that we've been getting more modern ones, they do include the feathered dinos. So 10 years ago, it was kind of a big deal. Like if you brought that up, people were like, that's bullshit, even though the evidence was there. But now it's more widely accepted. So I don't think it's going to be I think by now we would have had people on Twitter trending like, what the fuck is this? But maybe the general audience, like you were saying, maybe they're the ones that are going to be more, the older crowd might be like, what the hell is that? But I don't know. I'm really happy about it. It's set to release on June 10th. The last thing I want to talk about in this trailer is they did call this the conclusion to Jurassic World. Where do you think they move from here? Because it seems like you can't really go beyond dinosaurs ruling the earth. I mean, I asked Scott the same question. What else could they really do with the franchise except reboot it?
I don't know, but it's definitely not the end, because along with like Fast and the Furious, this is a big money pit for Universal, because they have several rides at their parks dedicated to this. Not only that, they just opened the Velocicoaster. They're going to keep doing something. Whether it's side stories with Chris Pratt in his dino, I don't know. But they're definitely going to, maybe they could do a side story with just Jeff Goldblum and Chris Pratt. I don't know. Who knows?
I agree with you. It's not the end for Jurassic World, though. Like you said, there's so much money to be made here, and I don't want it to end. I think dinosaurs are something that kids are forever going to think are cool. Like it never loses its cool factor. So generations coming up are always going to see these movies and future dinosaur movies as a cool thing, because it's something that kind of scares you, but entertains you at the same time. And that's like the perfect balance for a kid, where it's just a little bit scary, but you don't want to look away. And that's how I feel the Jurassic Park movies are. And that's how they've been successful, at least for that I've seen with Leo, especially.
Yeah. And it's a big animal type of toy that they have that they can go roar with and beat up all their little toys with. So it's like, it's perfect.
Especially with boys, he just, all the dinosaurs fight each other. That's all they do.
Oh yeah. I have a nephew that's the same way. And I shared him this trailer, and he was floored by it. And then he tried to explain to me. I asked him, I was like, do you like the one with the feathers? And he literally ran around the room and came back. He's like, I can't believe it has feathers. I want to see this. So yeah, the kids are all over it.
That's going to be his next movie I take him to, I think. Because I can't think of another movie. They're not doing another Paw Patrol, so it's going to be Jurassic World. It's coming right around the corner.
Bigger. Why do they always have to go bigger?
There's a sequel that we haven't heard a lot about in a few years, but now it seems like the script is complete, at least according to Ridley Scott. The sequel to his 22-year-old Gladiator film. Scott is currently in production on Kit Bag, which also stars Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon Bonaparte. There's no release date set for Gladiator II, but Ridley Scott already said that after Kit Bag, Gladiator II is going to be his next film. Several years back, he did say, and I don't know if this is still the story, but he did want to introduce a mythical aspect to Gladiator to bring back Russell Crowe's character from the dead, where he would introduce gods and goddesses into the script so that they were able to do a Gladiator 2. It's still pretty shocking that they're even doing this, but we go back to the first one. It did incredibly well. I just feel like 22 years is a huge gap for this one, but you know what? It's Ridley Scott. He's a master filmmaker.
Yeah, and the subject matter is also pretty popular. Like a lot of people really adore or are very interested, I should say, in Roman or Greek and Roman times. And especially if you get into mythological stuff, that always has a draw to it. So you've got somebody that knows what they're doing and a cast, hopefully that's good enough as well. I mean, they can pull it off. Why not? Give it a try. Hopefully it doesn't ruin what we know this franchise to be.
And if it ends up sucking, we always have the first one we can go to. I hear that Joaquin is going to be in it. So if you resurrect the hero, you got to resurrect the villain. That wouldn't shock me. And it sounds like that's the next one to film. So we shall see how that one goes. Paramount is pushing all of its chips on Sonic the Hedgehog. It's seeing how much positive buzz the movie has been getting as far as the second one. And it's not even fucking out yet. They have now greenlit not only Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but also a Knuckles television series from Paramount Plus. So Sonic fans are eating good. They are getting all kinds of good stuff heading their way. I didn't see the first one. I refuse to see it, but I will be there for 2. And as we were saying on Discord, hopefully they release that Knuckles TV series on Blu-ray because obviously that's my favorite character. This is huge news for me.
Yeah, I saw one of our friends, Treasure Hunting Sonic, he put in quotes, or not quotes, like, I guess I need to add another room in my house for Knuckles. So I'm sure the merch will be through the roof. I'm not a huge Sonic fan. I just didn't grow up on it, but this is cool. I'm glad that they're able to greenlight a third film ahead of the second one even coming out. I think they pushed in really hard when they purchased a spot for the Super Bowl to promote the sequel. So they probably see the numbers on return on that. And obviously insiders, whoever's involved in this film, probably just a lot of good buzz on it.
It will be a while before I watch the Knuckles TV series because, again, Blu-ray, but that's also getting... Paramount Plus also has Halo, doesn't it?
Yep.
Well, there we go. It's maybe if neither one comes out on Blu-ray, if they do the Netflix model of, no, you got to sign up if you want to watch this, then I'll wait till both of them are done and then, boom, binge them all in 1 month and then cancel out because, holy shit, I can't get another streaming service. But Paramount's doing good. They're getting some good stuff on there with Halo and now Sonic the Hedgehog. That's a pretty huge get.
Yeah, for sure.
Another resurrection, we talked about Gladiator, but this one I didn't think we'd see or hear about again is MoviePass, as it announced it is relaunching as MoviePass 2.0. It's featuring software that monitors to make sure customers are actually watching ads on MoviePass. So the new company is going to implement a credit-based system that allows customers to receive credits depending on the tier they sign up for, and then you can exchange those credits for movie tickets. So those credits can then be earned by watching ads on the app for MoviePass, and the facial recognition technology named Pre-Show, it verifies that the ads are indeed being watched. It tracks your eyeballs, and it can actually see what you're seeing. And we have the co-founder, Stacy Spikes. He told Business Insider back in November, quote, "I can confirm that we acquired MoviePass out of bankruptcy on Wednesday. We are thrilled to have it back and are exploring the possibility of relaunching soon," end quote. I know you're a big fan of MoviePass. Did you get the email for MoviePass 2.0? I saw on Twitter a lot of MoviePass goers were getting the email about this announcement.
No, I didn't get anything from them. It's also been picked up by a different company, so good for them, I guess. I'm not interested. I think this is a joke.
What?
Good for them. What? It's stupid. Who
What
wants
if
to watch ads?
What if that's just a part of the tier, though? What if they still have the unlimited tickets or whatever? What was it? It was unlimited tickets in a month, right?
Yeah, you just pay $10 a month and you can watch any movie you want.
Yeah, what if they bring that back and then you have a tier where you can purchase additional tickets in case you want to bring a loved one and whatnot?
They won't, because the problem that the first one had that nobody wants to understand is you could not purchase tickets remotely. You had to be at the theater. The problem is when you got to the theater, some of the movies you actually wanted to see were unavailable or sold out. So what people were doing is what people were doing in Pokemon Go equivalent is they were location spoofing on their phone. And when they did that, they were able to buy tickets from home. So that's part of the reason why MoviePass had so many issues, because people were buying their tickets from home. So you can't block that. It's impossible. So the fact that that can't be monitored, they have to come up with a new model. And that's why they're talking about watching ads. So if you've ever seen like I think GameStop offered it for a while. It might have been while you worked there, where you had to fill out a survey, and then when you filled out the survey, you got it's like an ad, but it's like, hey, do you want to make money by filling out surveys? And if you did, you got 50 cents for filling out a survey. But if you spent the whole day filling out surveys, you can make a chunk of change just by filling out surveys. And what you were doing the whole time was getting exposed to ads while you were doing it. Whatever company that was running that was making the money off the ads being exposed to you. And then they were in turn paying you a couple pennies to turn and burn those ads so they get the quote unquote clicks on those ads, the viewership. So this to me sounds like the same thing. What they're not unveiling is the full strategy behind it. And what that means is that you're going to be watching and, going through bloatware essentially to give other companies advertising. And that's what they're being paid for. And then you're being rewarded with tickets to a movie. That's how that's going to work. I doubt it's going to be unlimited showings. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a pretty structured system where you get one up to X movie tickets a week or a month. It's just that statement's very vague. And the fact that it says these credits can be earned and to redeem for tickets, that's exactly what that is. It's a pyramid scheme for advertising. So good for them.
On Discord, you had mentioned that movie theaters aren't really what they used to be pre-pandemic. Do you think 2.0 then is kind of destined to fail because how many people are going to want to use this now that so many people are not going into the movie theaters as often as they used to?
I think this will benefit them for a while, possibly. It depends on how much traction they get or interest, because the data that they see on trying to put this up, I have to believe, is dealing with the amount of people that are on social media daily, the amount of people that scroll through things, look through things, and click on things. So the strategy that they're going to have is you're going to be required as part of their membership to click on things and watch these ads. Well, you're only going to be able to do so much of that. How much until you get tired of it? And that goes for the same people back in the day that used to fill out those surveys. You do it so much, and it's like, oh, I only made $6 from doing this for 3 hours. I'm wasting my time. So you stop doing it.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue with all of that. And I don't, you like you said, how many people are? It's going to be a chore, obviously, to watch all those ads for free tickets. And so
it might be cool up front, and I'm sure a lot of people will jump onto it. They'll probably have some instant success. And then it depends on there from how much the advertising from feedback from people on social media say, wow, this is really cool. Or, people do it and they start pooping on it immediately. Like, oh, well, I spent an hour watching all this stuff and I got a ticket that I have to use by the end of the week.
Right.
then you really find out what's going on. It's like, yeah, this isn't good. So we just don't know a lot of those things, but I can assume that that's what that's going to be. It's very pyramid schemish, because they stand to make all the money from you sharing ads that they're being paid to show off.
Well, we've got a project here that won't be hitting movie theaters as far as we know, so you won't be able to use your Movie Pass redeemed points on this one, as Netflix is partnering with 2K and Take-Two Interactive to produce a film adaptation of the renowned Bioshock video game franchise. Originally, this has been going on for years. It keeps moving from production to production, different studios. Now Netflix has it. But originally, Gore Verbinski, who's known for the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, was attached to Bioshock. However, as the years went on, the project ended up falling apart. There's no release date right now for Netflix's Bioshock, but they're pretty reliant on, or at least reliable on, when it comes to, we're going to make this. They make it happen. I think Netflix is definitely going to be the one to bring this to life.
Yeah, this is exciting. When I saw this, I think this was on a couple days ago, this got announced. It'll be interesting. That, like you said, it's been talked about for a long time. This is a very good game. It's a beloved game. Everybody loves it. The story is a very dark story. So I'd be really interested to see how they adapt this into a film and tell it, because there's some really dark parts of it.
Is there anything else that 2K does that's a huge video game franchise that if this is a huge hit, that Netflix would then turn around and go, okay, 2K, what else do you have?
Well, see, 2K Take-Two Interactive is one of the video game giants. They're bigger than Microsoft when it comes to gaming. They're one of the largest video game conglomerates out there. I think they're number 2 overall. So they have the clout, they have the money, and they obviously have a couple franchises under their belt with all the acquisitions they've done over the years. They actually just bought something a couple months ago, or last month they bought Bling, one of the mobile companies they bought a giant one. So like they just keep getting bigger and bigger. Kind of like there's a company that it's in Europe and they bought out THQ Nordic. I forgot what the name of that company was, but they keep acquiring companies as well. They just bought Asmodee, one of the gaming board gaming companies.
Yeah, we covered that I think 2 times ago. 2 times that
Yes.
you were on.
Yeah,
Forgot
you
their
got
name, though.
Yeah, I'm forgetting it too. I'll think of it. But that company is also a very large company that keeps buying other struggling companies, kind of like what Tencent does. Tencent is a large conglomerate as well. They just have their hands in everything at this point. But Take-Two is very similar. They just own so much.
I hope this is big and Halo is big because I'm angling for a Mass Effect TV series. You know, where can I put the bug in someone's ear if Halo's huge? I'll be like, Paramount, you know, there's another space video game that's huge called Mass Effect. It's pretty much like Halo. You should just make that into a show.
Well, they've been talking about that for a while.
No shit, really.
Yeah, it just hasn't been greenlit anywhere, but that's definitely coming. I think we're going to hear about that when they finally get rolling with advertising for the Mass Effect 4 game, or if that's what it actually is. So
And
that'll be soon.
hopefully 4 is big enough to warrant that. That would be great. And I like I said, I don't have a lot of time to play games, but I'll be buying it just to support because I want more Mass Effect. I want more content from that world. It's one of my favorite video game franchises.
The name of that company is Embracer Group. Sorry.
Embracer Group. Okay.
Yeah.
They're fucking trillionaires over there. I don't know.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of money. But Paramount also went ahead and renewed ahead of Season 1's debut, Season 2 for Halo the series. So it's another, they're seeing numbers somewhere, they're seeing interest, they're seeing positive buzz, they're seeing something that warrants them going, all right, we can go ahead and greenlight this. And that also tells the viewers, hey, there's more to come. So might as well check out. I feel like if I, as a consumer, if I see, oh, they believe in this so much that there's already a Season 2, I should probably check this out. A lot of people fall for that, and I think they will with Sonic 2, going into Sonic 3, and now with the Halo series.
Yeah, this is another one. It's interesting getting greenlit prior to a debut. Like, this hasn't even been reviewed yet by anybody, so good on them. They obviously have some faith. Hopefully it pans out well. I still have my suspicions. I'm not running out to buy Paramount to watch it either. My letdown is Steve Downes is not in the show, but that's just my personal opinion.
And I do want to make something clear too, where whenever a TV studio or a production movie studio ends up greenlighting something, that doesn't mean that it's definitely going to happen. We've seen they greenlit the Gotham City Sirens movie at one point. That never happened. The Joker film, that never happened. The Harley Quinn movie, that never happened. So there's a lot of projects that they'll greenlight and they don't have to do it. You know, it's not like it's going into production next week. So, but I think it's a little bit different with Paramount just because, yes, they can still cancel Season 2, like if it completely flops on Season 1. But I feel like with television series, you kind of have to move forward already. And with Sonic especially, you know that's a guaranteed hit. They're going to do a 3. Even if 2 flops, they'll pull a Godzilla King of the Monsters going into Godzilla vs. Kong where they'll just say, all right, we'll wrap the story up in part 3 and we'll call it a day.
Oh yeah, 100%. The green light is just to get budgets approved for processes to start. And that comes as early as just writing material and planning. That's the early stuff. So yeah, I agree. That doesn't mean that it's absolutely going to start filming like next week or something. It's just they can start rolling ahead with some plans to get things in motion to start that process.
Before we get into our comic and DC Comics news for this week, we're going to go into a block of Nintendo and Pokemon news, which you added. So I'll let you go ahead and take it from here.
Sure. We found out that the Nintendo eShop is shutting down for the Wii U and the 3DS systems. These services will shut down in March of 2023. One interesting thing with the eShop is that you can get and access Pokemon Bank. So the Pokemon Bank will be accessible for free after the shutdown, but you must download the app prior to the eShop closing, and you can still use it even after the eShop closes, which will be after March of 2023. So the interesting thing with Pokemon Bank is Pokemon Bank, you can use it for free, but it's variable. Like there's very little that you can do with it. If you just pay the $4 for the entire year, you're able to get a lot of access to transfer all your Pokemon from all your older games from the Game Boy all the way up and get them into the current existing games so you have that ability to move Pokemon from your Pokemon Yellow from back in the day that you played with when you were a kid and use that Pokemon in Sword and Shield. Like that's a possibility. You would just have to move it through bank, and then from bank into home, and then from home into your Switch. So it takes a little bit, but it's totally possible. And I know a lot of people that have done that because you know that you have a Pokemon that you grew up with and play the game with that you're fond of, that you have an attachment to. That means a lot, right? So that's pretty cool that they're going to make that service still accessible, but even more importantly, it'll also be free. So they're going to remove the $4 fee that that you had to have annually for it. So
oh wow! I'm shocked.
I think that's pretty cool. So the main note to take from this topic is if you don't already have Pokemon Bank and you want to save some Pokemon from back in the day at any point in time in the future, all you have to do is download it. Just make sure it's on your system, because as of March of 2023, you won't be able to download it anymore. That's all. Even if you don't pay for the membership, which again is only $4 a year, after March of 2023, it will be free. So you can just plan on moving that Pokemon later on. You'll be able to do it.
So the way with the new games, how it works, do you still need Pokemon Bank if I want to, say, move my Sword Pokemon over to maybe Arceus isn't a good example, but Brilliant Diamond, for example, would I need Pokemon Bank to trade those over?
No. Pokemon Bank is only for older games. So when I say older, it's for the 3DS system games and backwards.
Gotcha.
So, and it goes all the way back to Gen 1, which is on the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance and all that stuff. All of them you can transfer up. Pokemon Home is important for bridging the gap between the 3DS and younger era into the Switch era.
So the way you trade now is just how we used to back in the day, one switch over to the other or whatever?
Yes. The only difference is if I want to bring a Pokemon from Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, as well as Legends Arceus, do not have home capability yet. They're supposed to be both added to home this year. But let's say Sword and Shield and Let's Go Pikachu. So if I want to move a Pokemon that I've really played a lot with in Let's Go Pikachu, and I want to move it over to Sword or Shield, all I have to do is go into home, drag it in home from one box to another, close home, and then open up Sword or Shield, whatever I drug it to, and then that Pokemon's there. It's pretty easy to use.
Pokemon Bank, everyone should download it, basically, is what you're saying, if you have Pokemon at all.
Yeah, older Pokemon, definitely download Bank if you don't have it. And then if you don't want to pay the $4, don't. Just wait till after March of 2023, and it'll be free to use.
There you go.
Next bit, this one sucked. The Pokemon Regional Championships in Orlando on April 1 through 3 have been canceled. So the Pokemon Company came out with this announcement last week, and their announcement was, while we prefer not to cancel events, the safety and well-being of our community is our top priority. Due to changes in government regulations and restrictions in the state of Florida, we have made the difficult decision to cancel the Florida Regional Championships. Let me tell you, Twitter was ablaze when this was released by Pokemon. It was a bad day to be on Twitter when this released, because then you really find out who the scumbags are in the Pokemon community. So it's been a rough week.
Tell me the tea.
Oh, it's just all amongst the anti-vaxxers, and just you really see the true side of people and how crazy they are. It's dirty. It's bad.
Well, but what's funny is all these people are, because I know I've recognized a lot of the regional players, and it's like they're all going to fucking come back for the next one, so they can bitch and whine all they want about it. They're not going to boycott the game. They're not going to not buy product. They're going to show up at the next fucking regionals. You're going to see them again. They don't fucking quit. The worst players, the shittiest players, do not quit. They fucking stick around.
Well, they can't stick around because the rules that Pokemon have in place, and this is why it got canceled, is as you and I both know, we live in Florida. And for those out there that are trying to understand what this means, let me read the quote here. The wording that they say here of due to changes in government regulations and restrictions in the state of Florida. So what that means is, again, you and I both know this. Our governor has put in a couple different mandates for this state that makes it illegal to check for vaccination status. He calls it a vaccine passport. It's banned in this state. Now, a private business can do that. You can do whatever the hell you want. But when it comes to Pokemon running a large-scale event, they can't do it because now they're hosting an event in the state of Florida, and that's where there's some friction. So Pokemon's mandates are very strict. They just put out another release this week, which I don't want to get too much into. But bottom line is they tightened their COVID-19 protocols for these large events that they're going to be able to host. And this is why it's not happening in Florida, because They're requiring masks, which is obvious. They also go into detail as you cannot even wear cloth masks. They have to be medical grade masks. Number 2, you have to be vaccinated. And when they consider vaccination, they're going by CDC requirements, so that you have to have your booster.
Oh, shit.
On top of that, you must have a negative test result within the past 72 hours.
God damn.
So in Florida, none of that's going to fly. None of it. And that goes for any, and I'm not going to get too political because it doesn't need to be here, but in any other state that has the situation that we have here in Florida, it's going to be the same thing. So these other events are going to get canceled as well if it's a state like ours. So those of you out there listening to this and you want more information, you can look it up. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. This is right on Pokemon.com. And then just go on Twitter and search Orlando Regionals canceled as a topic, and you'll see just the toxicity that's out there.
Oh,
so
man,
these players, they'll just never be able to play again. That's what it comes down to. Or they grow a pair and get their vaccination, or they forge their cards and they're scummy, because that's what they're leaning towards. That's what they're saying. They don't realize it's a federal penalty to do that, but that's not my problem.
Well, what do you mean they get like they won't be able to play at all if they don't participate? Is that what you're saying?
No, if they don't want to get vaccinated, they can't play the game. So what they'll do is they'll just sit on the outside and throw rocks at everybody. Like, well,
I mean, like in future years, they'd be able to, I'm assuming.
I don't know. I don't know what this means for our future as far as vaccination and what these companies are going to do. Like, who knows? If we're living what we've been living the past 2 years, then they'll never play again. If things change and it's not required, then yeah, they'll be able to play sometime. But I think at that point they'll stop. They'll find a new hobby. I don't know. I just think this is a good way to, in a bad way, it's a good way to weed out some of the piece of craps that we have in our community. And it looks like it's working. They're just making a lot of noise as they go down. That's all.
Well, the last question about this, what does this mean for nationals? Are they going to even have a nationals this year? Because so many players are not able to play.
So that's part of the goal. You know, if you think about it, if you're weeding out some of this mess, it helps with keeping their population down, because they don't want to host so many players in one building, because it's against regulations. So in a good way, having less people qualify works to their advantage because they have less people going. From a local standpoint, we're not going to get locals back probably for all this year because of the rules that are in place. I can't put any of these policies in place in my store. It's just not going to fit with normal traffic coming in out of store. You knew the same thing where you worked. And those rules are strict too. You can't have more than 30 people. Every single person must wear a mask. So that means when, the mom with her child walks in to just do some casual shopping, they have to wear a mask. That's what that means while you're running a tournament. Well, in a normal retail business, you can't do that. And we're also in Florida, and it's nothing but fights with people. So Pokemon Stance, I believe, is going to be, we're not going to put that on the stores to manage, especially since rules are different from county to state to city to all over the place. It's a mess. And instead of us being one country as the United States, it's, 50 different countries, essentially, what we're dealing with, or what they're dealing with, actually. And I think that's what they're going to do, is they're just going to leave it the way it's been. No play in stores for points. And you're only going to be able to get your points at the higher level. So regionals and higher. Will they host the internationals? Yes. I think Germany's in trouble at the moment because that's the next international that's supposed to happen in April. It's just not good in Germany right now. So that one could be on ice. I don't know. And then the one for North America is supposed to be in June, typically. So we'll see what happens. We got a little ways out. And then we still got other regionals that are going to occur. We got Salt Lake City in March 18th. Then we have Indianapolis, May 6th. We have New Jersey on May 20th. Vancouver. So Canada's a tough place. It's hard to go over that border. That's on May 27th. And then the last one to round out the season is Milwaukee in June 17th.
Gotcha.
So,
and where's Nationals going to be this year? And you said in June, but where?
Internationals for North America is June, and it's going to be in Columbus, Ohio. But that could move around. When they canceled Orlando, they announced a bunch of different events for Australia and some in Europe. Some places are better than others. Pokemon's legal department is very on board and very in tune with what's going on. So they're gonna protect their company. They're gonna protect the kids. That's what they're doing. On to some better news. Pokemon Legends Arceus has sold 6.5 million copies in its first week of release. So that's a really big number. Such a big number that according to IGN, Pokemon Legends Arceus is the second fastest selling Switch game of all time, right behind Animal Crossing New Horizons. That's ridiculous to me.
And Animal Crossing being a game that came out during the shutdown, so it was like perfect timing. Scott and I were talking about this, and
Yep.
it was like, it's going to be hard to top Animal Crossing in general, but I honestly didn't see, as popular as Pokemon is, Arceus is such a non-traditional Pokemon game that I did not expect this kind of push behind it. And I know Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were met with not great reviews, and how the Pokemon community weren't crazy about that game, unfortunately. Just didn't do well. So I thought that because of that, the momentum was kind of down on Pokemon games for a little bit. But Arceus, I don't know what it is that caught fire with people. Maybe it's the fact that it's a new mechanic, or they just really wanted a different Pokemon experience after coming off of Pearl and Diamond.
So I can speak to this. And you say it didn't do well, but in 14 days, Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl did 11.5 million copies. So they're making some freaking money, and they're still selling. The problem with Brilliant Diamond, I'm going to call it BDSP. Sorry, it's just easier. BDSP, which is those two games, is their faithful quote unquote remakes of the originals. The problem was Game Freak didn't do that. It was Ilka. They sourced it out to a different company to make that. And the decisions they made were awkward, because instead of giving us a remake that looks it looks gorgeous, it looks great, and it is faithful to what the original was in a lot of ways, but they also made some interesting choices. Like you walk at a very fast speed. There's a lot of glitches in the game, unfortunately, but that could be a problem with the pandemic. Who knows? And then everything that Platinum was, they could have easily transferred some of those quality of life systems into these two games, and they didn't. And that's the oddest thing that all the fans are upset with. That's some of the stuff that Scott was talking about. Like, that's why it's so terrible. And we say it's terrible, but we're still buying it. So
Right.
That's the thing. It's still making its money. Arceus, I started playing it about a week and a half ago. I love that game, and it is a mainline game. So people won't say it is, but it's actually a mainline game. It was made by Game Freak. So it may not be a new region. I think that's where the confusion is, because it's not a new region with a new generation of Pokemon. I think that's why it gets lost in the dust, or confused. But it is a mainline Pokemon entry. It is being classified as that from Pokemon Company. It's the same team that's worked on all the rest of the previous mainline generation games. It's just a different take. It has a lot of pluses to it. It has some minuses, but that's fine. The pluses outweigh the minuses, in my opinion. It looks like poop. A lot of people will tell you that. It doesn't really look very well. I don't care. The way it plays and what you can do in it is so freaking cool. We can do a review on it some other time, but there's just so much that you can do in that game. It changes the way that you play the game, and I hope that they are going to use some of this for the next generation Pokemon game that we're supposed to get shortly. Hot take, by the way, hot take preview on February 27th, which is just a few weeks away. That's Pokemon Day. Expect a announcement for a new generation of Pokemon on February 27th. You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
Dropping that scoop.
Here's the thing I don't know. Either it's going to release holiday of this year or first quarter of next year. One of the two.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
So if somebody wants to bet me a cheeseburger, I'm down.
Doesn't someone owe you one already? Doesn't Scott owe you one?
Yeah, Scott owes me a cheeseburger. I said double or nothing. We could do double or nothing on this. Yeah, so Arceus Legends, amazing game. I suggest all of you check it out. We could talk about it some other time because there's so much to discuss about the game. It's so cool. Like I said, there's a couple downs to it, but again, just looking at it, a lot of people will say, wow, that looks like my toilet. Because it does. It's just dry colors, and it's not graphically appealing, but the gameplay is so cool. There's really cool things that you can do in that game. So I'm enjoying it.
I'll be sure to bring up that bet during the LGG stream. That way we can get you some more burgers.
Yeah, let's do it. If not cheeseburgers, I mean, we could do chicken sandwiches. That's fine with me too.
There you go. We've got some Ayer Cut news this week, as on 2/14, there was a big trending event, and I kept seeing people asking, well, why 2/14? And it's got to be, it's cool that we're getting new people in the movement, in the Snyder Cut movement, because of the new movie that came out, and people were excited about that, and let's get more movies. 2/14 was the original runtime that Zach said the theatrical cut of his cut of the Snyder Cut was 214 minutes. And then HBO Max gave him budget to, hey, film at your extra scenes if you want, and that's what he did. So it ended up being well over 2/14, but that's why 2/14 is an important day. Every time it was February 14th for the last couple of years, we'd do a big trending event to try to get the Snyder Cut out. So this was no exception. We did it 2/14 and it trended. Released the Ayer Cut was the other big trending event alongside with Restore the Snyderverse. And then the Film Exiles account, which Manu and Millennial Mike are a part of, they put out an exclusive clip, or the very first clip of an alternate take of Joker and Harley Quinn. So basically the first audio clip, I guess, maybe the second one that we've seen of the Ayer Cut, the really cleanest one that we've seen. So this is coming out of someone's copy. I'm assuming David Ayer sent it over to them. I don't know. I don't know anything about it, but that's what I would guess. But if you haven't seen the clip, basically in the theatrical version, Joker greets Harley Quinn with a passionate kiss, and they promise grape soda, a bearskin rug. It's really ADR'd, like a lot of it, where they actually recorded David Ayer saying it offside and they just fucking threw it in there. You can really tell. But the Ayer Cut version shows Harley Quinn getting on the aircraft, excited to see the Joker, who is instantly hostile towards her and menacingly tells her, "The shit I do for you, we're going to talk." And Harley Quinn looks terrified. So it completely changes the dynamic of the two characters in that scene. And it would, I'm assuming, change the ending where he breaks her out, where she's excited to see him in the theatrical version. In the Ayer Cut, I'm assuming that whole scene is either not even there, or it has a completely different context or a different take of she's trapped again by the Joker. And that's a huge change as far as the Ayer Cut, and the first one that we definitely 100% know of, that Jeff Johns went in there and he said, no, we're going to make them a happy couple, as opposed to what we know, which is the Joker is an abusive guy who, to Harley, it's just a tool to him, Harley Quinn. He just uses her. His real love is Batman. Everyone knows this. And I will again reiterate, as Koj and I talked about the Ayer Cut, I like the theatrical version, but the Ayer Cut is something different. It looks like it's going to be something closer to what we got with BVS or Man of Steel, something that fits with that universe. Did you get a chance to check out the clip?
Yeah, and I think what this means is that the Ayer's version of this, or vision, I should say, is to make it the abusive Joker, which we know about from the books. Like, he just tortured Harley, and that's how he get, like you said, trapped, because she's obsessed with him for who he is, but he manipulates her with the way he treats her. And we kind of saw that in the Suicide Squad movie, that how he was slightly abusive to her. And on a lighter note, though, not in a bad way, but this scene kind of makes it seem like the vision was like, we're going to make this an abusive Joker. I mean, look how he looked. So,
yeah.
It's like, why not make him abusive if you're going to make him look that way? So that kind of makes sense. But if you're going to take this out and make it PC, that makes sense too, because you're trying to get more eyeballs in your film and get it away from because it wasn't rated R, right? It was PG-13.
Correct.
Yeah. So it strays it away from a rated R rating, because this implies that he beats her. Or there's an abusive relationship. And if that's the case, then how many other scenes are there of, him slapping her around?
Right.
So that's what I think where that leads to. And it kind of makes sense that it was cut, but cut maybe is a strong word, because who knows what else there is that is missing from that context.
Reshots and all that. Yeah. Someone on Twitter brought this up and I'm like, I fucking forgot about that. They were like, yeah, don't you guys remember they probably changed it because of that X-Men Apocalypse billboard. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then the thread continued, and back then, and we might have talked about it on the podcast, Kelly and I, back then, I can't remember, but it was one where Apocalypse is holding Mystique by her neck, and it was like Twitter had a fit over it, like over women abuse, basically. And it was right around that time, I believe, that they were filming or doing reshoots on Suicide Squad, and that's why some people are saying, no, that's why they reshot that, because all the movies and movie studios panicked and they tried to remove any of that from their films. And one of them they're saying might have been Suicide Squad, all because of that billboard.
Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, we've had some portrayals act out in real life, the stupid movie theater thing and Columbine, and you get all these portrayals from movie characters, like Columbine most notably trying to mimic Neo from Matrix.
Mhm.
And you get people that are just mentally ill and they want to replicate their quote unquote hero or whatever they want to call it. And that's what happens to these movies. These works of art get torn apart by PC quote unquote type of ramifications. We gotta geify this for our audience, or else we're gonna have sick people push us through the mainstream in the negative light and make our awesome movie now a spotlight for people that are dead. So unfortunately, that's how they have to play this out. That's why these movies are all cut up, sadly.
With this clip coming out, I know I'm convinced we're getting it this year, I think, but do you think Ayer Cut also, like, this is all a huge sign to, it's someone's working on it probably, and they're just waiting for the merger to happen?
I don't know. He's made some references to it. You know better than I do, but I don't think he's actually said it exists like Snyder did with his version, right?
So Ayer, what he said about it is that Snyder's was less finished than his. Ayer said that his is in a completed state. So
okay, so he's acknowledging that it's there. Yeah,
he's basically saying that it'd be way easier to release his than what Zach had to go through.
Yeah, so we don't know, unfortunately, the red tape that's involved with contracts and NDAs. Obviously, Snyder got his NDA broken because WB decided to fund, pushing it out there. So hopefully that'd be neat to see that. I'll believe it when he actually, or someone says that, hey, this is coming. Because in the meantime, he could just be playing into it because it's popular and it keeps it relevant, sadly. But who knows?
This merger, I think, will be will say a lot. And people are saying that this year's DC Fandom in the fall is going to be our answer to, all right, this is the direction they're moving in under Discovery now. So this is the year we're going to know everything, whether it's good or bad, at least for me, whether it's good or bad. And people keep pointing out, man, if we had just kept in the direction by now, well, except we'd probably still have COVID delays, so maybe we wouldn't have seen Justice League 3 quite yet, but it was originally slated for 2020, so by now we would have had the reboots had COVID not happened and had they not fired Zach. So it's kind of crazy how people are saying on Twitter, like, we would have had the reboot by now and all these great movies.
Yeah. And I also think this merger is affecting WB Games as well. Remember last year they were put up for sale for a little while and nobody bought them. And now with this merger coming, we've already seen Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League be delayed an entire year. So I have a feeling the games portion of WB's got some issues, and with funding lacking because of the merger.
Gotcha.
I think we're going to see something else happen with WB Games. Don't be surprised if Discovery sells that off when they acquire it.
Come on, Microsoft. That's what I'm rooting for.
I don't think Microsoft would take that. I think that'd be more of a Take-Two would buy that, or possibly even EA. You'd see someone like EA after that.
Well, let's jump forward a little bit since we're talking about the merger, and then we'll come back to the George Perez news. But we got news that a number of West Coast sources have word that a big comics merger is happening at Warner's with DC Comics. That's literally it, though. They're not allowed to say what's happening, and I don't know if by the time this episode releases, we'll know, or maybe it's going to be by the time the Discovery merger happens. But yeah, there's no word on if this involves another network merger, like people are speculating CW or Netflix, that kind of thing, or if it's a comic publisher merging with another, like maybe DC Comics is buying IDW or buying Boom Studios, or DC Comics is being bought by Marvel or Image Comics or whoever. So some merger is happening. Something is joining DC, or DC is joining something else. And this has to do, I mean, there's no way this does not have to do with the Discovery merger. Something is obviously already planned for the comic books.
I remember watching some YouTube videos about this. They were speculative, of course, conspiracies about DC and Marvel merging. This was like maybe about 2 years ago. A lot of weird, like, tidbits that led to it and why this is happening. Well, look at this makes sense, and look at this, and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be very interesting if it's Marvel and DC. That'd be mind-blowing, to say the least, but hopefully wouldn't ruin what we have. Hopefully it's just DC merging with, like you said, Boom or IDW or something. But it'll be interesting to see what happens to come out of this, because that could do a lot for comic books in general, good or bad. Who knows?
It would definitely get me really interested in the DC books again. I know there's a certain direction they're going in now, and I've said it for a couple of years, and I don't work in the industry anymore, but I see it in the books. We have two big Marvel Comicses right now. Both publishers are producing books that are not great to look at. They don't have great artists on them. They don't have amazing writers on it. They've got a few, like Tom Taylor's there. They got to hang on to his ass. Tom King, who knows where he's doing Stacked now, and along with Scott Snyder. So there's a lot of they need good creators in there. They need better writers. They need better artists. And unfortunately, right now, they're not producing that amazing work that you and I have seen over the years. We went through the Court of Owls saga and before that. So it's just kind of at least to me, a little disappointing to see. And hopefully this means that we'll get back to some more quality books. But as I've always said, Image Comics, Boom, IDW, a lot of those creators are over there, and you can find good comics if you just look. And, this whole notion of all comics suck today, that's bullshit. If you want a good comic, you can find it.
Yeah. And a lot of DC creators have left and gone to Marvel recently. Like Tomasi's one of them. Tomasi's over. Oh, sorry, wrong one.
Pat Gleason.
Sorry. Gleason is over on Marvel now. He's doing Spider-Man books, and I'm loving it because I read Spider-Man, and I was reading Batman when he was on Batman. So, and there's like one or two others that have jumped ship too. So something is definitely going on at DC, and you can see it because they're tying up the good talent well. Like Tom Taylor just announced that he signed a big deal to be exclusive to DC. Tom King was already exclusive. They still have Brian Michael Bendis, which whatever, who cares? Who cares at this point? Everybody else is moving on, and they're going either back to Marvel or going to Marvel. So something's going on. And you and I both have always said this. They're not paying them well. There's issues. There's inconsistencies. Some of their books are just not good anymore. I used to read a lot of DC books. I've fallen off a lot of them.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, hopefully it's good for the industry and the reader. That's all we can hope for.
We got some unfortunate George Perez news. As last time Scott was on before this one, we had talked about how he was doing a final appearance. He wanted to be able to hug everyone before he passed on. To anyone who's not familiar with him, I mean, he worked on the Infinity Gauntlet. He worked on Wonder Woman in the 80s and established a lot of her lore as far as modern Wonder Woman, modern Cheetah. He was very involved in that. The Teen Titans, the new Teen Titans. He co-created Deathstroke, Nightwing. Huge talent, George Perez. He's a contributor to DC and Marvel in a huge way in a lot of the media that we all enjoy today. Well, unfortunately, his final CGC signing got canceled due to his declining health, and his final in-person fan appearance, which you updated me on right before we recorded, will also be canceled. This is the one that they were saying he wanted to do one more. Scott and I were thinking he's probably going to do it in Florida since this is his home. But it sounds like his health took a real bad turn, a quicker turn than I think we all expected.
Yeah, totally unexpected and sad. He's a treasure, and we're all going to enjoy his work because it's out there, it's published. So, yeah, I got nothing else to say. It's just sad. It sucks.
Do you have any George memories? Have you ever met him, gotten anything signed?
I did. I met him at MegaCon in 2012. Some other years too, but mainly 2012 because I had him sign 2 books of mine. I had him sign New Teen Titans number 7. It's a really cool cover with the Titans are hanging by a marionette on the cover, so it's just really cool artwork. I had him sign that, and then I had him sign what was my other book? Oh, just New Teen Titans number 1. I had him sign that one.
Oh, cool.
Whenever I meet an artist or a writer like that and I have them sign the book, the common thing that you ask them is oh, what's your favorite character? Well, I go beyond that. I'm like, what is your favorite character that you like to draw or write, if they're a writer or artist, whoever it is? But then I go a next step. I was like, what's your best memory of that character while writing or drawing it?
That's a better question. Yeah.
And it's really cool because they stop and think for a second. And for George, he told me a story about when he was writing Dick Grayson and how, the jokes that were passed around between him and the writers, and he'll never forget those conversations and things like that. And then George Perez is so approachable. He's so friendly. He smiles all the time. He laughs. And the jokes he started to retell some of those jokes, and he was just cracking up himself. So that right there showed me like, okay, this guy truly had a great time, and that was my question. That's exactly what I wanted to know. Instead of being the standard person that comes along, oh, what's your favorite character to draw? Oh, Nightwing, and then move along,
Yeah.
So that was cool because then you get to see the other side of the person that maybe they don't get to express themselves so much with fans because they're so used to generic questions.
Yeah.
So, and I met him at the Hero Initiative booth, and he signed both books. I had CGC there to witness his autograph because I had them graded, so they're Gold Series labels with his autograph. But more importantly, since he was at that booth, they were raising money for the Heroes Initiative. So I, of course, donated some money towards the Heroes Initiative. He was there because, he's had diabetes and his eyesight has deteriorated over the years. That's why you don't see so much artwork from him. And that's why he stopped doing a lot of commissions, because it was so hard for him to draw. So at the Hero Initiative, they support other artists later in life that are struggling because they're either suffering from, either it's medical conditions, or they can't work anymore. They're disabled, or they just don't work in the industry anymore because they can't for whatever limitations there are. And the Hero Initiative helps those comic book creators at least a foundation for them so that they're not homeless or not struggling to get groceries every week. That's kind of like what they do. So for those of you out there and you've ever been to a con and you see the Heroes Initiative booth, please stop by. You're probably going to see some really creative talent there because they're supporting the cause that could help them later in life. And right now, I think that's what the most important thing is for George Perez. Is most recently, the Hero Initiative was assisting him because he couldn't draw or do his awesome art anymore because of the conditions that he's been living in. And some artists or writers are not as popular or as renowned and can't make those royalties like a George Perez could. So that's the other side of that equation as well. So just because they may be disabled, their royalties may not be that high because they weren't critically acclaimed like George Perez or like a Tom King later in life kind of thing, because they have so many notable works or have won all these awards.
Or Jim Starlin for Thanos.
Jim Starlin.
Yeah.
Marv
KG
Wolfman,
Beast.
all those guys.
Marv Wolfman, yeah. You had a good memory of him too, because I've met him as well. I had him sign my JLA Avengers comics, a couple of them, like the Superman cover where he's holding Captain America's shield and Thor's hammer.
Oh, yeah.
This was when I was in my teens, I think, and I had him sign that, a couple of those. My sister, who's a big Deathstroke fan, she got to meet him and get her first appearance of Deathstroke signed by George, and she talked about how sweet he was to her, and I'm like, yeah, that's George. I've only ever heard and seen good things from him, and he's, we're locals to the Central Florida area, so he doesn't live too far from us, and he he used to frequent a comic shop that was near his house. So around other collectors and other buyers, I'd hear, oh yeah, George was just at this play at this local school for his granddaughter or whatever. Like he's literally a local that's well known among the comic community, and nothing but great things to say about the guy. He's one of the nicest comic creators that people would come across. And it's just, you see it in his posts even today, in his updates. They're from his family now, but in that the last letter that he put out to his whole fans, I mean, you just see how much heart the guy has. You saw him on Comic Book Men and how much heart he had there. I don't know I think he's on a word balloon or two, and it'd be great to see if John releases another one of those to kind of commemorate him, as he's going through all this. But it's nothing but good things for George. And on top of that, he created some amazing fucking characters and villains and heroes, and not the modern version of Nightwing that I know you really like, but he elevated Dick Grayson to that other persona. So there's a lot in there that is gonna well outlive all of us, and all of these characters are gonna outlive us, and he's an incredible talent. That's all we can say about him. Nothing but great things, and it's unfortunate. I don't think neither of us were upset about the cancellation. We're just more upset at the fact that he's going through an even harder time sooner than he expected.
Yeah, 100%. It sucks. It's heartbreaking. What the hell? Yeah, it's terrible to hear this and watch it. And the best part, like you said, is he's extremely happy that he's been able to do what he's done, and his spending time with his family was his goal. He did get to do a bunch of things leading up to this past few weeks. Like he went to Holiday Matsuri.
Oh, no shit.
He went to Holiday Matsuri and took tons of pictures with cosplayers. So he lived a life, trust me. He had a lot of fun the most recent months, like he said he wanted to. So I'm happy that he was able to at least do that. That's awesome.
Absolutely. You mentioned the Hero Initiative. That link has been in the description of our episodes for the last couple years now. So if you ever want to donate, like Bobby said, it is a great cause. Local comic shops also carry the trade paperbacks to basically a compilation of a bunch of blank sketch covers or sketches to, let's say, Wonder Woman. That one's about to come out. It's called 100 Wonder Woman or Top 100. I forgot what the exact name of it is, but 100 Artists Wonder Woman. And it'll compile a bunch of sketch covers from a bunch of these artists that are working today. And all of the proceeds go to Hero Initiative, like you said. And that then helps people in the comics industry who cannot pay their bills, who are not working anymore, like George. And it's a great cause. There's another book coming out that is going to contribute to the Hero Initiative. This is for the first time in decades. The acclaimed JLA Avengers crossover is going to be reprinted by Hero Initiative, the charity dedicated to helping comic creators in medical or financial need. There's only 7,000 copies being printed. I don't know why it's not much higher, because this could be a massive cause and a huge moneymaker for Hero Initiative to help all these comic creators. But there's only 7,000 being printed, and it is honoring one of George Perez's seminal bodies of work and his longtime support of Hero. Jimmy Palmiotti is also a big supporter of Hero Initiative. JLA Avengers will be available in March from your local comic shop as long as they're participating in ordering the book. It will be distributed by Diamond. It's going to be a 288-page full-color softbound volume. It's going to feature the original 2003 4-issue co-publishing crossover between DC and Marvel. It's written by Kurt Busiek with art by George, and it carries a retail price of $29.99.
It's really cool. Hopefully scalpers don't get attached to that. That makes its way into hands of folks that actually want them. The fact that that's being put out is really cool.
There had been petitions for the last couple of years to get Marvel and DC to agree to reprint this, and the original printing of the trade was going on eBay for about $400. So this will bring that price down now that they're reprinting it. And I hope that they're able to do a second printing to continue to help Hero Initiative. I don't know if that will require another deal between Disney and Warner's or Disney and AT&T. That's the only downside to it, but at least they're doing this run. And we do expect it to. Diamond already says that allocations may occur, and they will occur. Obviously, it's going to happen. So don't be surprised if you don't get your copy, honestly, because comic shops may order 10 copies and they'll only get 2. And guess what? They have 20 pre-orders. I've seen it happen time and time again. It's out of the comic shop's control. It's more the printing. And again, 7,000. I'm like, should have been 70,000.
Yeah, that number is so low, but they made it low for a reason. So
I guess so. Yeah, that way print to sell out, right?
Yep, print on demand.
But there you have it. That is the block of news for this week. Now we'll head into the Brocat block, which is what Bobby and I have been doing since you last heard us. So Bobby, what have you been up to in the last month and a half?
Nothing much. A lot of work. Work's been pretty busy, fortunately. Going through a new set release, actually several set releases all at once. So it's been a time. I will tell you the Poker Bros are back, but technically they never went away. The ones that had fallen back have now come forward again. So that's starting all over again. Prices are starting to go up again because product's running out. So just as prices came down on product, prices are now going up because product's disappearing again. So we're going through that cycle, unfortunately. That's the bad side of it. The good side is obviously the sales are up. That's incredible. But the painful part is dealing with the scumbags that walk in the door. So
of course.
Is what it is. Is what it is. That's pretty much it. I've been busy with that. I've been digging in on some games, I've got a giant stack of games that I need to get through. So I'm trying to make the effort to push through a few of them. I finished Kena Bridge of Spirits on the PS5. So that one's out of the way. I started Pokemon Legends Arceus, but that's not a game I can finish very quickly. So I've dug in on it just to start it. That's going to be something that I play in the background throughout time. Just last night, I started Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl because there's some promotions that are going to expire next week. So I was forced to start those. I don't think I'm going to go back to them, though. It's just the same complaints I had from earlier. There's some weird stuff going on there, but it's a Pokemon game, and I didn't grow up with Pokemon, so I'm not really too attached to it. What else have I played? I started a Final Fantasy VII Remake since there's an upgrade for PS5, so I went ahead and downloaded that, updated it. The DLC Intermission was on sale, so I picked it up for like $14 or something on the PlayStation Shop. So
weren't they releasing 7 in parts? Did they finally all come out, or are we still waiting?
No, we're still waiting. That's going to be because of the pandemic. That's going to be a forever project at this point. We got lucky with the side story with Yuffie that they released last year. So, but since that was on sale, I just went ahead and picked it up. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I just start this? It's not a terribly long game from what I understand. So I'm on chapter 4. So I think there's 17 chapters in the game. So I'm picking away at it slowly. Also, having not played too much of Final Fantasy VII originally, Cloud is so oblivious to things around him. He's got 2 women after him, and he doesn't even know what's going on. It's the weirdest thing. Tifa and Jesse are both flirting with him like crazy, and he's just like, whatever.
Maybe he likes men this time.
I'm a soldier. Get out of my way. I'm a soldier.
His first love is his country, Bobby.
Yeah. So that, and then I don't know. I haven't been playing too much else. I beat Halo and I put it down. I haven't touched it since. Xbox I was playing through. Oh, that was the other one. I finished Scarlet Nexus. Millennial Mike had recommended that one, and I tried it out. It's actually really cool. It's a very enjoyable game. So those of you that have Game Pass, check out Scarlet Nexus. It's on there for free. It's not a terribly long game. You can play it twice because you get to play as 2 different characters and you get to experience 2 different sides of story that way. So really cool. Julian had recommended not to watch the anime, so I won't be doing that. But the game and the story and the character and the way it plays is really neat. So that's really about it. Just been busy with work. Oh, I'm short-staffed. That was the problem. I lost one of my main managers to a promotion to a different part of the company, so hiring has been difficult.
Well, Bobby, as long as you don't mind some less than stellar customer service, but goddamn, he gets shit done, I'm right here.
Come on over.
I always tell that to Kelly. I'm like, you know what? Your customer scores won't be higher because of me, but goddamn, those fucking times are going to be low. You're going to be like, goddamn, he gets that coffee out fast as shit.
I will anoint you quickly the ability to ban anybody you want. How about that?
As often as you've banned people, I don't think I could ban them quicker than you. You're like, you've got that crown. Like, I banned a lot of people, but it's for you. It's like every other month or so, you'll be like, and then this guy.
I just don't put up with it. And I'm fortunate enough to work for a company that allows me to do it. I don't have to put up with that corporate bullshit about reading from a script. You've done it. You work in a corporate environment. It's like somebody really does something bad and you're supposed to apologize and give them a gift card. That's the resolution. Well, that's not how it works in my business. It's me. It's you suck. I don't like your attitude. Go play in traffic and get hit. There's the door. Don't come back. That's how it goes. So,
yeah, well, you know what? One day I'll take you up on that because people can't be too picky, especially now with coworkers or with workers. So I think I've got a shot.
we're in a strange timeline right now. Things are weird, but
oh, for sure.
Like I've been saying, we're still in 2020. This crap sucks. All of it.
Have you checked out any of the Oscar nominations or Oscar stuff?
I checked out both. I was more interested in the Oscar noms because the Oscar noms suck.
That's what I've been seeing, man. Because I'm like, this is all like inside baseball stuff for the Brokehead Core, but we have an internal Discord room for just the hosts, and it's like, all right, here's a preliminary list. I haven't seen everything on the Oscars, so I'm going to start knocking some of those out. But otherwise, if some things are better or worse than what's on this list now, I'll start replacing them unless any of the hosts feel strongly about any of these movies. Then I'll leave it on. It'll be like it's a collaboration. I want everyone. If Spencer is someone's favorite movie of this year, great. I'll leave it on there because I want to make sure it has a shot at getting the vote or whatever. So that's. But I've been finding that I'm going through. I'm watching Spencer. I just watched the dog, Bite of the Dog or whatever on Netflix. That's starring Benedict Cumberbatch. And I'm like, I don't like half of these movies. They're just okay. The Spencer movie I didn't like. That's the Kirsten Stewart one. and she was great in it, and that's the only thing she got nominated for was because of the best actor. But I'm like, I was hoping it was a good movie too, or a decent one, and it wasn't. Princess Diana, it's a retelling, not a retelling, but it's kind of showing the stuff that she's going through as far as the divorce, the upcoming divorce, and kind of giving you an insight on what she was going through during all of this. But the story's not good, unfortunately. And then with the dog movie on Netflix, it has nothing, obviously, it has nothing to do with dogs, but it's a biblical phrase that it all sums up in the film. Great acting by Benedict, but the story itself, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like it feels like either there weren't a lot of really good movies, or that's got to be it. Where it's just had to have been a weaker year for movies, because so far Dune has been excellent. Zack Snyder's Justice League has been excellent. I'm about to check out finally the black and white one. It hasn't released yet on Vudu, but it's about to. People are saying great things about that one, but I'll check that out. Nightmare Alley, I wasn't crazy about, and that's a Del Toro movie. So I don't know. Have you found that same thing where you haven't been blown away by anything from last year?
Yeah, nothing has blown me away. I haven't been impressed with too much. And I think a lot of that has to do with they don't make a movie, unless you're Tyler Perry. He's the only exception.
Yes.
You don't not make a movie in one day and put it out next month. That's just not how it works. All these companies putting out movies, you have to consider the past 2 years. So most of these movies were developed or filmed partially in 2020 or 2021. And I'm saying 2021, the really front part of 2021, because then it would have had to release in the late part of 2021. Look at, it's not on the list at all, and it shouldn't be, but look at Godzilla versus Kong. That movie was made years ago. And the only reason why we got it in 2021 in the first half was because of the pandemic. It just got delayed a bunch. So if you take that into account, on top of the time that theaters were actually closed, the time that Hollywood was actually closed, and then when they did reopen, the really strict protocols that they had. A perfect example of that is the Batman. It had some really big issues. Another one was, damn, I just lost it. I had it. Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 6 or 7 or whatever it was, there was major issues on that set to where Tom Cruise got into it with his staff because they weren't following COVID protocols. So they went off shoot for 2 weeks until they brought people back together when they cooled down and got things, because he fired people when that happened. I mean, he's unique in himself. Top Gun's been filmed for 3 years now?
That movie is never coming out.
it's never going to come out. And then now he's holding on to Mission Impossible 6 and 7 that they're not going to release anytime soon. So he's got several films in the can that who knows when we're going to see those. But that comes down to politics with the movie theaters, because they're looking at a bigger picture. And we've seen this. Movies go out into the theaters and they bomb because nobody's going to the theaters, and you can't predict that. And the other problem with that is you have too many streaming services. HBO's guilty of it, as well as Netflix. They're producing movies and putting them simultaneously into theater and on a screen, which is all new to us, by the way. Or the new model, which started this year, which is 45 days in the theater run and then to streaming. Well, you take me, I'm an outlier probably, but I'm an example of it. I'm a statistic, is that, well, I'm not going to go to the theater and watch it. In 45 days, I can just watch it from home. So why do I have to go anywhere? I'm already paying for all these streaming services anyways. So that's one aspect. But the fact that these movies weren't being filmed for such amount of time, that means the amount of films that we got released in 2021 was lower. So typically our Oscar pool should be much higher to choose from. Okay, you've got, several hundred movies that released that year. Let's start picking our best ones. Well, for 2021, that was probably not several hundred. It was probably around 100 or less. I'm a ballpark figure here. You take that into account. Well, that's why. And then they're left with picking 10 movies for Best Picture, which is a joke in the first place.
Yeah, I still can't believe they expanded it.
You can't pick 10 movies last year that were good because they all were not good. You can pick one or two. So that's the dilemma. And that's why these noms are not good, because there wasn't enough movies that were released. As far as the quality, I think that has to do with all the problems in Hollywood as it was starting to get back to normal. If things are full bore good in Hollywood now, or at least they've been through most of end of 2022, or sorry, 2021, my bad, and going through this year, then that means next year's Oscar noms should be better because we should have more films to choose from. Mm-hmm. Now, does this mean the quality will be better? There's no guarantee, but that's just my thought. I think the amount of movies that were produced because the unique circumstances of the pandemic reduced the pool of movies that were actually released. And that's why we're left with these scraps. And it just so happens that some of these scraps are not that good, but it's the best of what is out there. I don't agree with half of the things that I see on that list. Some of them I haven't seen, so I can't really beg to differ on either one. Like, I can't offer too much of an opinion. You know, people getting mad about things getting snubbed. Okay, sure, whatever. It's just the Oscars. Like, nobody cares anymore. They're corrupt as everything else. We know that now. So
people were saying like one of the big ones was The Last Duel that got snubbed, and I enjoyed that one more than Spencer or some of these other movies that are on there, even Nightmare Alley. So but that happens every year. You know, every year something gets snubbed. Several things get snubbed. It's all politics.
And you've got some people that just have some weird opinions. Perfect example, like a couple days ago at work, somebody brought up the Oscars. I don't know who it was. And a customer was standing near me, and the coworker had mentioned Nightmare Alley. And then the customer speaks up. He's like, "Oh my God, that movie was so amazing. Oh my God, it was so good. You have to watch it. You have to watch it. No matter what you do, you have to watch it. I hope that wins Best Picture, blah, blah, blah." And I just look at him based on what I've heard. Like, you even knocked on it, and you're a huge proponent for Guillermo. So knowing that, I was like, I don't know, man, I haven't heard really too good for it. I mean, it's a film. I'm not going to knock it because I haven't watched it, but I haven't heard the best. He's like, whatever, man. It's better than that stupid fish movie, because that fish movie was absolutely terrible. Oh my God. And when he said that, I was like, okay, I'm done talking.
Yeah.
Because you clearly like bad movies and you don't like good movies. That's what you are. You're probably a Marvel sheep in disguise, and I just don't know it.
You can tell a lot by someone's favorite movie, and it's like, okay, well, we know what they look for in a movie, or, you know, it's a little different for sure.
Which is fine. Which is totally fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But don't argue to me in that context without explaining properly. And that guy didn't, so that's why I gave up on him. So yeah, because I tried to say, are you kidding me? You see how many Academy Awards that won? And then it just like went over his head, and he wanted to talk. What? Who wants to have sex with some fish girl? I was like, okay, we're done here.
They missed the point. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get it. You just don't get it. You also don't understand the art form that is presented there. That's
right.
all.
Right.
And it's fine. He's allowed to have that opinion. It's all good.
I still remember watching that. Dougie Jones plays the fish man, and like Kelly and I were still deep down hoping that it was a Hellboy crossover with Abe Sapien.
That's so good.
But it didn't happen. But we are going to have a Broscars this year, though. I don't think we had it last year because of all the nonsense that happened. And yeah, I think we had an even worse situation, to be honest with you, than this year as far as Oscar picks. That's why it's like, all right, like Jared brought it up, and it's like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it this year. It's the right time. You know, the nominations just came out for the Oscars. We always like to do our own because they do, you know, snub some movies. I think that's how it first started. We're like, fuck that. We're doing our own. So we're going to do that again this year. But based on however many hosts actually want to participate in this, then we'll have a final slate, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We'll put it out on Twitter, and we'll go from there. We'll do an internal kind of vote on everyone's pick for Best Picture, and if you guys want to do Best Leading, Best Supporting, as we've done in the past, I will have to look at the list again and see if there's enough still where someone's like really great in the films, but I think we can start building it. I'm just trying to nail Best Picture right now, and based on however many more people actually watch some of these movies, some of the other hosts, that'll help narrow down or at least refine the list. But it is coming. We're doing the Broscars, and so far it's looking like it'll be before episode 500 is when we do the Broscars show, or that episode. So we got that coming, and episode 500. A lot of stuff for the podcast. Honestly, it's just good timing.
Looking forward to it.
That's been mainly my thing, is watching these movies and making time for it while Leo's in school. I start the movie, and then thanks to Vudu, it's like you got to finish it in 48 hours, but you can pause it anytime. So great. So been catching up that way. And South Park, been watching some more of that. Every episode 2 just came out with a big focus on Token and Integrity Farms. That was a really good one. Been really liking South Park a lot. And the big Ayer Cut event we just talked about already. So that's mainly been it on my end. Nothing too insane, but a lot of Oscar movies. And I'm glad I've had the time to really dive into some films, because I like it. Even though I've had 2 stinkers back to back, you know what? It's like, all right, I know for sure I don't like them, and now I can move on to the next one.
Yeah, consume and digest.
But I think that about wraps it up for our episode, Bobby. Do you have anything else before we sign off, before you share where they can find you?
Everybody, if you're out there listening, join our Discord. It's a fun time. You can talk to us, ask us questions, and keep involved. Sometimes a good time. Some good conversations occur. So the link will be in the description. Please. You don't have to be engaged all the time. You can put everything on mute and just pop in when you want to talk. A lot of people do that. It's totally fine. A lot of people are on many Discord servers these days. Totally understand it. So just be cool to say hi to people, meet other people, and discuss, what we like to discuss and talk about, which is, films, movies, video games, pop culture, and obviously the stuff that makes us broke, because we all have different avenues of that. It's pretty cool.
And there will be a link to our Discord in the description of today's episode, as well as Bobby's Twitter, which he's mentioned in the past. He doesn't check it often, but when he's tagged, he will jump in there and have a conversation. So if you have any questions, or if you want to share another George memory you might have had, or like a sketch or whatever, make sure to tag us in that. Throw it in the collector's corner, or if you only mess around with Twitter, then tag us both in that and we'll check it out. We'd love to see or hear about your George memories. If you're listening to this and you have those, send them on over. I might put out a Twitter post as well where you can put it down below. But I like to share those on the podcast because it's unique. I like to see and hear other people's experience with great people like George Perez. So if you also want to help out the podcast, make sure to tell a friend about the show. The word of mouth is huge in podcast growth, more than reviews, more than ads, more than billboards. If you have a friend that might be into some of the stuff that we talked about today, tell them about the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. But thank you so much for joining us this week. Thank you, Bobby, for helping with the co-host. I've been Daniel, joined by Bobby, and Broke Core. All will be well. Was there a matchup in JLA Avengers or in Avengers JLA? Because I know you've seen both of those books, but there was that matchup they did. I don't know if George's was this one, where they did a vote of like, all right, the readers decide who wins between Wolverine and Lobo and any of that. In the George one, this is the story in which Superman had the hammer and he had Captain America's shield. I don't know how fresh your memory is on those, but did you have any big, like, oh my God moments from the crossovers, either that one or any of the previous Marvel DC crossovers?
It's been a long time, but when I originally saw those, I was blown away because just the fact that those two were merged together was pretty cool. All the kids in ourselves were all really excited for that. So I think in general, the whole thing is cool, especially since, the items that characters held were taken and held by the opposite faction or creator. That was really cool.
It reminds me of that Amalgam series that they came out with where like Storm and Wonder Woman merged together a little bit. Like they had that, they had Superboy or Super Captain Super or whatever, and that was Superboy and Captain America merged. But yeah, for that series, that's the one where when people are always like, who would win between Thanos and Darkseid? They always point to the comic and they're like, that happened already.
Yep.
They already fought. Darkseid destroyed them.
and that's why we've been asking for these books to be recreated all this time. And it's like, these two will not work together again. No. And a lot of people don't know that these books exist.
Right.
That it actually did happen.
Anytime I got it in collections up until the last couple of years, they weren't worth a lot. Like I'd put anywhere between $10 and $20 on them. They would eventually sell, but they weren't like, oh my God, it's the crossover. And that was the weird thing to me because I'd always tell even the regulars, it's like, we're never going to get another one like this. There's never going to be another crossover. I can safely say over the next decade of, Batman fighting Captain America or anything like that. It's simply not going to happen. These are two huge conglomerates. It's not two publishers anymore that can play nice and cross over. This is AT&T and Disney trying to protect their assets, and they don't want to mix. There's a lot of fucking deals that need to be put together. A lot of lawyers that get involved just to get a little crossover going. So I don't know why it would never convince people. It's like, buy that fucking book. When are you going to find that shit?
Yeah, it's definitely a gem. And I don't think you're right. It's the best we'll get out of any of that is one character transfer from each. That's it. It won't be an all-out war between two factions. Like you just won't see that again. It's definitely rare, and that may be the only time we ever see it.